Hello everybody, I'm CoasterCrazy10 and welcome to my first component review. Today I'm going to be looking at the AZZA Solano 1000R full tower case. As you can see, the Solano 1000R is a full tower case that is predominantly black with red accents. This is a mid-price range case that can be found in the United States for $100 to $125. It is a color variation of AZZA's original Solano 1000, hence the R suffix. Taking a look at the outside of the case, the first thing that is noticeable is the gigantic 230mm fan on the left side of the case. This is a red LED silent fan rated at 24 decibels, which pushes a lot of air into the case while spinning at very low speeds due to its large size. The left panel also features a large window that wraps around 2/3 of the intake fan to show off your components and your hard work. Moving to the top of the case, there is another 230mm red LED fan, this time an exhaust fan. This fan is located beneath a plastic grill and is also a 24 decibel silent fan. It is controlled by a 2-position switch and can be set to a low or a high setting. On the back of the case, we see a 120mm exhaust fan mounted in a fairly standard position, above the expansion slots and beside the hole for the I/O panel. This and the side panel fan are not controllable in their stock configurations, and all three fans mentioned so far use standard 4-pin Molex connectors. The back of the case also features a hole for a standard ATX power supply with pre-drilled screw holes, as well as 2 rubber grommets for water cooling setups with external components. The right side panel is totally blank. Moving to the front of the case, we can see 11 drive bay covers with mesh fronts, although I've already removed 2 of them. In the default configuration, 3 of these bays, including the 2 that I've removed, can be used for drives, controllers, reservoirs, or headers that have a 5.25-inch interface. There are 2 hard drive cages that house 4 3.5-inch hard drives each, and each has a 140mm red LED fan that has a 3-pin fan connector and a 3-pin to 4-pin Molex adapter attached to them. These cages are removable and can open up to 7 additional external 5.25-inch bays on the front of the case for any compatible device. There is no support for 2.5-inch drives in the stock configuration, but adapter plates for one 5.25-inch to 3.5-inch external drive are included with the package. The front I/O panel is actually on top of the case. It features 3 USB 2.0 slots, an eSATA port, a headphone and microphone jack, a reset switch, a hard drive access indicator, and a power switch. Now, curiously, this power switch is actually illuminated by a blue LED rather than a red. This is because this is a straight port from the original 1000 Solano, and that had blue LEDs that lit the fans inside the case. There was also a tray to hold peripherals while charging or transferring files from external devices on top of the case. Both side panels are removable by unscrewing 2 thumb screws for each panel, which are located in the back of the case. Upon opening up the case, we see a fully painted interior which is predominantly red. This detail is usually unheard of in this price range, but the paint is thin and not very well bound to the case. It will strip near the screw holes the first time you open the case, but the missing paint is covered by thumb screw knobs, which are fortunately used for every surface on the entire case except the PSU screw. Taking a look at the hard drive bays, we see the mounting rails, the 140mm silent fans, the front panel connectors threaded through the motherboard tray, and the open space for 3 external 5.25-inch drives. The hard drive bays are removable with 8 thumb screws, 4 on each side, but some are quite tricky to seat back properly, which is why I have 2 removed at the bottom. Here's a close-up look at one of the hard drive bays. Note the 140mm red LED fan and the 4 hard drive bays in the back. This case's drive bays do not natively support 2.5-inch drives, so a workaround must be implemented if using solid-state hard drives. With the abundance of 5.25-inch drive bays available to you upon the removal of one of the hard drive cages, consider a 5.25-inch mounting adapter or simply purchase a 3.5-inch adapter and slot it into the cage. The benefit of using the 5.25-inch slot is that adapters exist that can house up to 4 solid-state drives in one slot, which is way better than wasting space by putting only one drive in one slot in the hard drive cage. The 140mm fans can be removed by pushing it on the tabs in the side and moving the power cable out of the clips on the side of the cage. These fans can also be removed from their enclosures by unscrewing the 4 Phillips head screws located at the front of the fan. In order to remove the front mesh drive bay covers, you must first remove the front. This can be done by simply pulling on the bottom of the case. In order to remove each drive bay cover, you must first push out these tabs. Press them out towards your hand and pull towards you on the cover that you wish to remove. It will click out of place. Do the same thing on the other side. There you go. In the bottom of the case, we can see a place to mount a standard ATX power supply facing up or down, and an additional place to mount a 120 or 140 millimeter fan. Note that these two intakes are the only places on the case that have removable dust filters. If you want to have dust filters on any of the other fans, you'll have to fabricate them yourself. You can buy aftermarket ones, or you can create one from anything really, but just be warned that the intake fans on this case generally do not have dust filters. The front of the motherboard tray is fairly standard, and it supports ATX and micro ATX motherboards. There's a large hole in the tray for easy access to the CPU cooler backplate, but the motherboard tray is not removable. Speaking of CPU coolers, AZZA recommends not using aftermarket coolers taller than 150 millimeters to avoid interference with the 230 millimeter side intake fan. This fan can be relocated on the outside of the case by unconventional methods, and I do not recommend trying to do that. I just recommend staying underneath the 150 millimeter ceiling to avoid having to take the case apart. There are other holes in the motherboard tray for cable management, but they are not grommeted. On the back of the motherboard tray, the same holes are visible, and two ties come pre-mounted on the back of the motherboard tray. I've already taken mine off, but they're there when you open the box. 3 more are included in the small box located inside the case when you first open it, along with screws, standoffs, and other assembly accessories. It is worth noting that most pictures online do not show that this case has a retention plate access hole, so this may very well be a recent modification to the product. There's plenty of room to work behind the motherboard tray to pass cables through in order to reduce clutter and to increase airflow. Before closing, note the rubber feet on the bottom of the case as well as the rubber feet on the power supply mount. These feet help increase airflow and reduce vibration and noise associated with vibration. Overall, this is a fantastic case for new or moderately experienced computer builders looking for a mid-range case with big budget features. There are a few omissions that remind you it's not a $300 case, but for all of the features and the sheer amount of working space this case offers, the Solano 1000R is a viable option for someone building a mid-level computer that has to look great, provide excellent airflow, stay quiet, and most importantly, allow easy installation of all components. This is an attractive case at an attractive price, with many features and only a couple high-end case features missing. Despite my limited experience with computer building, I would rate this case an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this review useful and informative. Stay tuned for case customization information, build coverage, and more component reviews on the way.